All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for ReZero Season 2, Episode 14.
Yeah.
Otto, you man!
Otto,
you myth, you
we
legend!
do not deserve you. Forget I love Amelia. I love Otto.
I love Otto.
Like,
and Patrash.
Of course,
yes.
of course. You can't forget Patrash.
The glorious, wondrous ground dragon.
Yeah.
Loyal to a fault.
No, that's what would happen. Is that Subaru would be like, "I love you, Otto," and he would be like, "I love Patrash." I love you too.
Perfect dragon, you know.
But in this situation, not really much happened last episode. You know, there wasn't nothing, no big reveals.
Weren't
or anything.
able to advance much in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you know, it was just kind of same old. You know, there was this conversation with Roswaal that happened, but nothing.
You know, he's
really
a high-level mage, so of course, he's a problem, guys.
Yeah. So
he's not only a problem in the like the iterations where they have to bump into him and actually like we have to interact with him, but he's a Kidna's boy in a lot of ways. Like he's been enchanted by those eyes.
Oh, lovely.
Since 400 years ago.
And because he's not a cute anime girl, he doesn't get the redeeming characteristics and stuff of the witches, you know, to make it complicated. So this is at least from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, but the exciting thing is that he's a dark taste of what Subaru could become.
Yep.
But he's also in some ways like an exciting possibility of an ally that if Subaru, now armed with this knowledge, knows how to, actually play his route, basically.
Yeah,
there's probably ways that he can get on Roswaal's side and use that.
Because so some people were thinking that we trusted Roswaal up till now.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, we were, but it was specifically because if you have an epic level wizard, you better trust them, because the alternative, if you can't trust them, is
get away.
Get away. You're screwed, right? Like
there's two assumptions that this is based on, basically. One, he set up this whole arc.
Yeah.
The whole sanctuary thing is because of Roswaal. So we can't undo that.
Nope.
That's something that's locked in. So at the very least, we have to accept him as being not immediately antagonistic.
Right.
So of course we don't trust him in the sense that he's just a good moral, upstanding.
Yeah, morally we don't trust him,
right.
But at the very least, from a technical level, he hasn't been overtly violent against us until recently.
Right.
And then it seemed to be because it's we're in a bad timeline, this doesn't matter, so, whatever.
Yeah. But now Subaru knows.
But now,
Yeah. So
how do you deal...
What do you do with that, buddy?
With this situation? And I love it, because it's something where ReZero as a show has basically been the story of, let's take Subaru and put him in a bunch of shitty situations and just constantly escalate things and make it worse and worse and worse. So it's how the hell is he going to get out of this? And it's he won't for a long time, he'll have to try a few times.
Yeah.
And eventually maybe. But how this is going to work? I don't know.
And then the story has evolved in a very cool way to no longer being the thing of who the hell is Natsuki Subaru, but to how the hell is Natsuki Subaru.
Right.
And now
exactly.
It's him learning to, basically learn to be someone who takes care of himself and loves himself.
And there's the positive side of this whole shitty situation is self-care.
Yeah.
Subaru.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Right.
The power of Otto, friendship, and Patrash, and maybe Ram too. All is not lost.
In a lot of ways, because he's such good friends with Ram, that is an in to Roswaal.
Yes, because Roswaal did specifically say that he also held Ram in very, very close, regard, even though he did spear her with his hand in a previous iteration. So
it'll be curious to see where the
what
needle,
exactly that means,
if you will, kind of sows its way through all of this to where Subaru can save most everyone, because saving everyone might not be on the table.
But you know what? He's going to keep trying.
He's going to keep trying.
Until
he's
he gets everyone.
Ask for help from his friends. Like freaking Otto. So let's go, y'all. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it.
I didn't know Otto could do that. Are you saying you don't?
No more acting. Yeah.
の知ってんでしょ。好きな子にカッコつけたいんでしょ。なら誰かの手をかけたらいいじゃないですか。
All
例え
right.
ば友達とか。頭の中がめちゃくちゃで話しても信じてもらえねえようなことばっかりで。だからカッコつけんなって言ってんでしょうが。ややこしいことうだうだと考えてる暇があったら。
Right, 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 right.
All right.
Ah!
言っても俺はそのごちゃごちゃを全部話す。そして最後に信じろっていやいいんですよ。
All right.
Ah! Ah!
There are things I can't tell you because you'll die.
Oh!
Let's go.
賭けをしよう。俺とお前の願いを。
Wait!
All right.
Whoa!
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Same
お
timeline.
前の最後の勝負だ。この集会で俺は必ず聖域を屋敷を救ってみせ。
No way. No way. And we didn't hear the talk with Otto, so it's going to work.
Yeah.
He's so serious here.
屋敷両方とも救ったらお前は本を捨てて一緒に来い。
Whoa! Oh!
まだ何も致命的なことは起きちゃいない。俺が解決すればな。そんな都合のいい話はないだ。何も手放さずに自分の望みを達成する。その上で私すら必要だと取り込み未来のための礎に加えると。
That look to the side, like.
Yeah, yeah.
スバル君。
Oh.
それが一体どれほど。
Oh, nice.
I love
That's
it. I
perfect.
love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And this is why I love greed as a human emotion.
そ
Wow.
りゃ話に乗ってくることっていいんだな。聖域の雪も屋敷への襲撃も3日後。
Yeah, let me lay it out for you.
惨敗してほしい。言ってる。ロズワール、調子が狂うからまたピエロの化粧しようよ。
Hmm.
運命に翻弄されるピエロ同士、正々堂々やろうぜ。
Ah, I love
Oh, that's
this.
so
I
cool.
love this.
Straight bet. Oh.
Okay.
エミリア様に期待しているの。
ああ、期待してるし信じてるよ。
エミリア様はつまずく理由に気づけずにいるのよ。
アドバイスしてくれるなんて。
Yeah,
あいつ
yeah.
は俺のこと
That's
好き
true.
なのかな。
Well, of course she cares about
何
you.
ですかそれ。本人に聞かれたらすごい怒られますよ。
わかりました。僕は僕で。
Oh, the fact that we don't know what they
Right.
エミ
discussed.
リア様のことは。こればっかりはお前の手も借りれない。
順序を気取らないでくださいよ。
お前
That change in
エ
tone.
ミリア様の傷に触れる覚悟はできたので。
触っていいかって聞く覚悟はな。それにしてもお前も分の悪い賭けに乗るもんだ。
そうですね。
He is a merchant after all.
勝ち目のない方が分かるのはこれが初めてです。
Never tell me the odds.
Right.
ここに来れば会えると思ってたぜ、リュウズさん。
ロズボウの待ち人はスーボウだったというわけじゃない。
ああ、ごめん。その展開はボツになったんだ。
Oh. Oh. Oh, this is
ソ
huge.
フトの権限で協力させたらどうじゃ。
Yeah, that's
危
no
険
fun.
頼りにはしてない。
Yeah.
俺はリュウズさんと話に。
Whoa. Whoa. This is going to be big.
スーボウはガーボウをどう思っておる。
Mm.
多分あいつとぶつかるのは避けられない。だけどそれが済んだ後仲良くできるかできないかは終わってみないとわかんねえな。
今なお複製体を生み続ける麻酔症を見守り、管理。
Makes sense. Makes sense.
最初の4人ってのは聞いたな。じゃあリュウズさん以外のあと3人。リュウズさん、あんたの名前は？
わしの名はリュウズ・アルマ。
俺
Okay.
が最初に会った
A
リュウ
B
ズさん
C
はビ
D.
ルマって
I
名乗
think.
ってた。
Yeah.
ただしリュウズ・シーマ。最初の4人からかけた1人。
Oh.
そのものだけは例外じゃ。以来監督者の
Gotcha. That's how there's differing motivations
他の
here.
複製体と同じく
Okay,
森に
sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
創
Yeah.
造主であ
Yeah.
る魔女との制約に逆らい墓所に立ち入った。言いつけを破
Oh.
り墓所の試練に挑んで戻らなかったガーボーを連れ出し
Whoa.
Oh.
わしもずっと会っておらん。じゃ
Whoa.
がガーボーはわしらにない記憶を共有するシーマと会っていても不思議はない。
ガーフィールが見た
That
過去
first
は
part.
フレデリカが出て行った時の。
いや、あの子が見たの
Must have missed
は
it.
おそらくガーボーとフーを 二人を残してここを去った母親との別れの時間じゃよ。
Oh, okay.
あ
あの子は自分のことをガーフィール・ティンゼルと名乗る。あの子の母親の家名じゃ。それをわしは忘れないために名乗っていると思っておる。
どうした
ー。
のエミリア
おー。
と尻が汚れるよ。エミリア、君が試練で何を見たのか俺に話してくれる気はあるか？でも話してくれれば一緒に悩める。頼りになるかはわからないけど、俺に君と同じ敵と戦う資格をくれないか？
Okay,
私
okay,
が見た過
okay.
去は多分私が眠る前の記憶だと思う。
Yeah, that makes sense.
私森でずっと氷漬けにされてたの。パックが見つけて出してくれるまで
Yeah, Puck.
森が凍るまではみんなで暮らしてたはずで、
We.
その前のことはあまり覚えてないの。でもお母さんみたいな人はいて。あれ？なんで？お母さん？
落ち着いて、ゆっくりでいい。
応戦に参加したの。
どうして森のことと応戦に関係が？
他の候補者の人たちはみんな立派な目標とか覚悟があって応戦に
Alright.
参
Ah,
加
so
してるの
something
に、
as simple as that.
私の理由はすごく個人的で。
大切な人たちを助けたいって動機は悪いなんてことはないし。ここまでやらなくてもいいのか？
どうかな。そばの相性って重そうだし、そばに置いておくのは怖いな。消しておく？でもよく呼び出してくれたね。僕は嬉しい。
Bit of an interesting way that, you know, he had to do it though.
また怖い夢を見たのかい？
No.
どこに行ってたの？
Papa Paku. So
い
tiny.
つもよりちょっと体が小さいかな。思ったより限界が早そうだね。まあ意識して契約を破ろうとするんだから、精霊としての株を奪われても仕方ないのかな。話せなかったのは僕の個人的な事情とリア自身の問題。だけどこれからは。
いや、ちょっと待って。
Is he leaving?
Yeah.
ごめんねリア。本当はちゃんと説明してあげたいのに時間がないや。すごく悔しいけど、君のことは僕の次に君を大事に思っているから。
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
そんな人なんて。
リア、君と僕との間の契約を破棄する。一方的で本当にごめんね。僕がいなくなれば記憶の蓋が外れるよ。
Okay. So let me do what I can to
For now.
be there for you for that.
す
Yeah.
ごく愛してる。
Oh, that's mom. That's mom.
Yeah.
Oh, the soft piano and Papa Puck. You're just like
You're strong enough to be able to handle
you
it
are
now.
strong enough to handle this exactly.
世界で一番愛してる。
I still. Oh, all right. But don't worry, he's not gonna be gone forever. It's just, you know, he's no longer gonna be bound, you know, to you, and
Yeah.
and yet, yeah, he'll still exist and everything. But yeah. Okay, so we should be at the end of day 1 right now.
という意味では不
Yeah.
憫な話じゃよ。
Well-
時にガーボー、スーボーのことじゃが、わしが話したことではあるが、スーボーに魔女と関わりがあるようには見えん。
どうだかな。よぼよぼババアはとっとと寝ちまえ。夜更かし類の観測を後悔するって。
Wait, what does that even mean?
I don't know. I don't know. One of his weird proverbs.
Yeah.
とにかく気に病みすぎないこと。俺にできることがあれば、大した手じゃねえけど何でも貸すよ。
Okay. Okay.
手握ってて。朝までここにいてくれる？そうしたらきっと私は。
こんなことでいいなら。
She's never gone to sleep with someone without someone right there by her. Right
Yeah,
there, you know,
yeah.
protecting her.
は信じてるよ。
あなたのことすごく愛してる。
Oh.
オルトナ母様の嘘つき 子の嘘つき。スバルの嘘つき。
Oh, because he's not there.
Yeah.
エミリア様が行方をくらまされたのよ。今手分けして探しているところ。
まさかあいつらババが
ご期待に添えなくて申し訳ありませんが、
I don't know.
友達の頼みですんでね。本当はここで話し合いにするつもりだったんですよ。
話し合いで
ええ、リューズ。ただね、エミリア様のことは
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
宴の主催者が不在の間、代役などはいかがでしょう。
Okay. All right.
Okay, okay, here's Amelia.
ああ、よかった。やっと見つけた。
スバル。
You said you'd stay, and you didn't.
Yeah.
話をしようか。エミリアタン。
Amelia Tan. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. Oh my god. Wow. We don't know what the plan is.
Nope,
we don't know what the plan is at
there's
all.
so much that we don't know.
Ah!
Like, a lot happened this episode, but there's a whole lot that we don't know.
Subaru has a plan.
Boy, he does.
And we got multiple things set up here. I mean, many things set up here. First things first, Subaru's plan was something that he initially discussed with Otto.
Right.
Now-
We still don't know exactly what it is.
We have no concrete details as to what the plan is outside of the idea that he's going to save everyone and get them outside of the sanctuary
Right.
and liberate everyone from the sanctuary.
And then
with
also save
Amelia. And it's going to be something that he will leverage his idea of doing it all in one iteration against the, well, fact that Roswaal, he knows that, you know,
Roswaal
Roswaal's
thinks
not
that you can
necessarily
only
a
do
friend
one or the
here.
other, right? But by
Right.
framing it as a battle of ideals sort of a thing, and okay, well, I think my way's better, and I'll prove it to you, and if I do, then you've got to give, you know. So, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah. Subaru, you have to get this right then.
yes,
Like, you
yes,
really have to get this
it's
right.
such a good way of upping the stakes because one, it's the stakes of a lot of bad stuff potentially happening,
Right.
but it's not just the idea of people dying and stuff because we're used to that. But
Right.
it's also a lack of good things happening because if he does get it right,
Hmm.
you get an epic level wizard on your side, actually on
But
your
you
side.
can't use Return by Death.
Right.
And he jokes about how his power's not even that useful,
Uh-huh.
which is hilarious because he just had a witch basically just
Yeah.
confess basically how much she wants him for this ability. Mm-hmm. That it's
Yep.
like, that's a fun joke, Subaru. That's
Right.
a good one. But it is a really cool way to, in some ways, put a limiter on him here so that he takes care of himself and loves himself, so that he does
Right.
not suffer
Yep.
for a good period of time here. Now, the issue with this, though, is that he has to, well, do the thing that is also the good thing, is rely on other people.
Yep.
And in order to do that, he has to spend a lot of time just like helping them and working with them and talking to them and getting to understand them more.
Right.
So he goes to Roswaal after the fantastic bit with Otto.
Conversation and confrontation with Otto. Yep.
The Roswaal bit was efficient. It was to the point. It cut through Roswaal's defenses of him being like, you can't imagine how greedy you're being right here,
Right,
Subaru.
and I love that that's
Like,
the thing that
oh
kind
my
of helps
God.
convince him because, like I've been saying,
Yeah.
greed is such a wonderful human emotion from the standpoint of it
For stories,
for
yeah.
stories
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it gets at the idea of desire, right? And you want to have characters that desire things strongly. So greed is the
It's
like
perfect for
we're
that.
greedy with our approach to stories, even of wanting
Yeah.
to see the hero do the thing or whatever the
Sure,
story entails.
sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So the next bit here, we end up getting basically a couple little conversations, like there's a little bit with Ram, which was sweet. But the bit with Ryuzu, we
Right.
learn a lot about Ryuzu and about Garfield. So a couple things that we're setting up here is basically that Garfield is kind of the wild card.
Yes.
In that it's not that
Literally.
we don't trust him entirely. It's that we now understand because of his dynamic with not just, well, Witch, but also just in the Sanctuary as well, that he is not going to be someone we can get through without a confrontation.
Of some
Initially.
kind or other.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the fact that Subaru does not have to be the one to do the confrontation
That's huge.
is huge.
Yep.
And the fact that Otto is going to talk with him.
I love that Otto is just waiting for him in a magical prison area and everything with an immortality machine. And here's this monster that could totally squish him and has in the past, right?
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't know about it.
Right.
And he's just sitting there like, sup, let's talk. You know, this isn't as ideal circumstances as I would like.
Right.
But we've schemed this thing all to hell. So
this is going to be good.
Let's have a good conversation
All right.
here.
So Ryuzu is one of 4, which we knew there
One
were a
of
bunch
4
of
main
clones,
ones, yeah.
but there's 4 supervisors.
Right.
Yeah. These supervisors are where we get the differing motivations with regards to Ryuzu.
Exactly. Which is a
a
great thing to have
Which is a good thing
explained.
to clarify, because they're not a hive mind.
Right.
There is an aspect of the hive mind, but that is with regards to the 3 remaining supervisors, not Ryuzu Shima. Ryuzu Shima was the one that broke the contract with Echidna, so
Went
that
AWOL. Got kicked out.
Yeah, so that's how that whole thing is working there, and she is the one that wants to keep them inside the sanctuary. Because that was why Subaru was like, and you wanted to keep us inside the sanctuary, and she was like, what? Like, I don't want that, do I? And then Subaru was like, huh? What?
Right. Yeah. Because
So-
she was working with Garfield, and
Garfield wants to keep everyone in the
everyone
sanctuary
in
as
the
well,
sanctuary.
so
Yeah,
that Emilia can do the trial.
Well, and also, right. Yes.
Right, yeah, he does want Emilia to complete the trial. Yeah.
Think so.
Yes, she does. Just work with me here.
Okay.
Then Garfield, we end up finding out a bit more that the reason why he's not necessarily wanting to keep them in here for some obvious reason. He has some issues with his family that we know about through Frederica.
Right. Mom abandoned him.
Right, but we get the clarification that the reason why he chooses the name Garfield Tinzel, his mother's name, has something to do with the emotions surrounding his abandonment of his mother, who left the sanctuary.
Not wanting to forget her.
Yeah. That's odd, because that means that it's not necessarily something that's some plan or even some strategic reason or even some usefulness thing. It's a mix. Kind of apropos that is the case.
Which then makes sense why maybe he just needs to have a good talk with somebody, right? And Otto seems like the perfect person to do that if it really comes down to a matter of Garf not understanding his feelings, right?
Right. And I think one of the things that makes the most kind of simple sense here as a typical motivation for someone that's in a demi-plane alternate reality and there's people that are wanting to leave, but you can't leave.
Oh,
you just don't want to be alone.
Yeah, it's abandonment issues. You don't want to.
You just don't want to be alone.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Right.
It's potentially really simple. Like, I mean, we'll see, but like, I'm interested to have Garfield being more of a main character where we get into a confrontation with him where he goes a little bit, gets a little bit angry.
Hopefully, Otto's okay. Yeah.
Right. But we are able to get him, I would say, on board with this because he's really strong.
Right, because with the whole thing of Emilia breaking the barrier, right, that could be something where he wants that to happen because then he can actually go out and maybe find his mother. Who knows, right? Or he wants Emilia to be the one to do it because he doesn't think she'll ever actually be capable of doing it, and then that way no one will leave him. Right? Because the barrier stays up.
Yep.
Who knows, right? It could be all sorts of things. I'm really curious to see how they get into that because Garf, as a character, was the one that was kind of like built up the most in a weird way when Subaru and Emilia
because of Frederica being the point of contact outside the sanctuary.
Right, mentioning him and
so
stuff.
she knew the most about Garfield as opposed to other people. Yeah.
Was that Beatrice? I can't remember. But point is...
Well, it was both. But it was primarily Frederica because Beatrice basically talked in very cryptic puzzles regarding how you need to interact.
Him and
well, right, but also how you need to interact with Roswaal specifically. Like once you get there, Subaru.
Right.
And that's all its own thing there because we now know about Beatrice's contract that was set up with Echidna. So with this here, it's really the question of if they can get Garfield to be on their side, if they can basically convince him via Otto that everyone's going to die here anyway if we keep this going. Like there's a deadline of which things are going to get really bad in the sanctuary in a few days, but actually at this point they're in the second day, so
they're in the second of 3 days. Yeah,
it's like 1 or 2 days at this point. Yeah.
Yep. They don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah, they might be able to get him to, by necessity of just, keeping us going,
because that's
get everything moving.
Because that's the sort of the odd thing about this situation that they're in. Up till now, and this is why Otto, I think, with saying, hey, ask for help, it's so important, is because the situations that Subaru is actually dealing with are, not all of them are necessary problems. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Basically, that by talking with Roswaal and basically being like, hey, we're going to do this bet here.
Right.
He basically removed Roswaal as someone that would muck up the situation, right?
Immediately.
Yes. Right? Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, and assuming you can trust him to keep his word on this bet or whatever, right? Who knows, right? But the factors here are all people based for the most part, other than the barrier, which is something. So Emilia needs to work on that, but all the other factors seem to be people based, and the people are not overtly aggressive all the time to Subaru and company, right?
Yeah.
Like under certain circumstances and certain iterations, they have become enemies, but you can talk with them, right? It's not like an Elsa situation where you can't talk with Elsa. You need to figure out how to actually beat or stop or whatever.
Sure.
And then the other complication, other than breaking the barrier, is the whole thing at the mansion. But theoretically, you could get to a point, if you negotiate properly, where the sanctuary situation is simple, right? Where then it's just, Emilia we'll do everything we can to
right mental and emotional place to where she can
figure
handle
out the
next trial or
right.
trials.
And the idea that, something needs to change, Puck leaving, that might be it. Because, if he was keeping her sheltered from her past, it makes sense that in order to actually pass the trial of the past, she would need to be able to face it. And she hasn't been so far because she's been protected. And this is that whole coming of age thing where it's, okay, you needed that for a time, but now I believe that you're strong enough and you have people around you who can help you through it.
And
cool.
Subaru was able to convince Puck that this was the best call.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I think is really cool by having a bunch of things be skipped over. One of the things that's really exciting about ReZero as a show with regards to the intensity and the stakes of it is that we know in a lot of ways that nothing is permanent. We can just go back and redo things.
Sure.
But with Subaru saying, I'm going to do all this in one try, the stakes are regarding the plan and what it actually entails. Meaning that the sacrifices made in this iteration mean something because Subaru is intending to do it all in one go.
That way he can win over Roswaal.
Which makes us really nervous when we get plans skipped over because then we assume, well, they're going to work.
Right.
But also, we don't know what the end, kind of result of that plan would naturally be until they execute it, which means in the moment when the plan's being executed, we're like, okay, what, Subaru, you're just trying to call Puck, right? That's why you're putting your hands toward, okay, gotcha.
Right,
okay.
And just to clarify, in case you haven't heard us talk about this kind of thing before,
yes, this is
in stories, one of the things that anytime a plan is told, oftentimes it's so that if the plan fails, you know where it failed. Right?
Why?
You know why. Whereas then if they don't tell you the plan, oftentimes it's to keep the tension high so that way you don't know what's going to happen.
So that when they show the plan succeeding, they go, this is where it succeeded.
This is where it succeeded and all that. Right, this is what we did. And you can discover it. You don't, you're not just like, okay, I know that there's 27 steps and these are what they all are, blah, blah, blah. It's basically real boring.
It's basically efficiency, but it's also somewhat of a trick where you can tell from the writing standpoint.
Keep you on your toes,
That generally speaking, if the plan is not being shown, you have a much higher likelihood of the plan succeeding.
And it
because
still
you have no tension if it didn't succeed because you never knew what the plan was to begin with.
Right, and it still can fail in those instances, but anytime you're told the plan in detail, the chance that something is going to go wrong, even if it doesn't ruin the whole plan,
is much higher.
Much higher.
Much higher.
So in situations like this, even though there's lots of things that need to be sort of made to work, right? And I have no idea how Otto's going to talk down Garf. You know,
Right.
I'm
I think
hopeful that will succeed.
I think I know what it is. Otto is basically just Subaru in another location. He's basically saying, Subaru,
Sure.
don't doubt my own capacity to
I
be
am a merchant
charismatic
after all.
and
I can
to
persuade.
sell someone on an idea.
Right.
And he's like, I need to know the information that you know
Right.
so that I can be thoroughly equipped to confront Garf. Because if I don't have that information, then yeah, I'm nobody here.
Right.
I really don't have anything. So I think what it is just Subaru said, here's what you need to know. Here's the tools that I think will help you.
Yep.
But you're still rolling on a 50-50 regarding this bit
You're
here.
trying to persuade the barbarian. If it doesn't work, things might not go well for you.
So think up what you should do over the course of this night.
Right.
So Otto has had 24 hours to prep. That's plenty of time.
A merchant, an intelligence-based character with full 24 hours
Intelligence
of prep time.
and charisma based.
Intelligence and charisma. That's
A
true.
merchant
Those
not
two
only has to have
are powerful
intelligence, they have
combos.
to have charisma to be able to be the
that's
face
right.
of their market and what they sell. So
Right.
yeah, let's
But-
go. Let's
but
go.
Once we get this situated, so the 3-day time limit, that's actually a lot more constraining than it originally sounds like.
It is.
because
there's-
that's when Elsa attacks the mansion.
right. There's two fronts of it.
Right, and
Yeah.
it will take time for them to get to the mansion after they resolve things here.
Right.
So we can't just spend the full 3 days here
Yep.
and then be like, all right, we just figured it out, that's
We
fine.
need to have parties in different locations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, it is possible that, who knows, Subaru might have buggered off to the mansion already, saying, no, we saw him in the place with Amelia.
Yeah.
But there could be things in motion that we haven't seen yet to make sure that isn't a problem. But
You know what I just realized, Jacob?
what?
You know who is the strongest magic user that Subaru can call upon to help defeat Elsa? That's not Roswaal. That just broke his contract with Amelia so that he
Puck?
can leave her side.
Puck?
Elsa shows up at the mansion and Puck's like, hey, bitch. And
Heard you were talking shit. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
She freezes and her head just falls off. Like,
it's just like
well, so that is
destroyer, just
that is actually something that I would love to. I would love to get this clarified. Any of you people watching.
Oh, with the how he's
Well,
go
with
ahead, go
regards to Puck specifically,
Sure.
why hasn't he been present so far in the conflict? Was there a point where Amelia asked him to keep a low profile, or like was there a point because like one of the things that I thought it might be is that
I think she's so focused on the trial, she's not
Sure.
able to call him out, basically. It's draining her to do that, maybe.
possibly, and
And that's why it's his kind of nice thing to pull back at a specific time, right?
And sure, and maybe it's something where because he's keeping her sheltered from her past, it is the trial itself is directly antagonistic to the bond that they share or whatever, which causes him to be weaker, not able to show himself as much or something. I don't know, but
okay.
But like in situations where it gets to these kinds of just crazy things going on in previous iterations, it was always one of those things where like once they brought up Puck, I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. What if he's been here this whole time? Why haven't we seen him too much earlier? And I feel like there was a reason for it that was given at some point, and I'm just forgetting what it was. But
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's okay. But we can get that info, yeah.
Yeah.
So Subaru
yes,
has at the very least won over Ryuzu and the supervisors. Not necessarily Shima, but Garf could not find Ryuzu Shima.
and there were 2 cups
And there
on
were
the
2
table.
cups, and the second cup was not Garfield's.
Right,
That was
he had a
something
dark
we went
cup.
back to check.
Yeah.
His cup was something different. So someone, after Garfield left Ryuzu Shima and went to bed or whatever, she had a conversation with someone else.
And I'm guessing it was Subaru, and that's why he left Amelia's bedside.
Or at the very least, it might have been one of the other clones.
Oh, sure.
And it's just they finally like touched base on things with what Subaru being the mediator for that
Right.
was. At the very least, I think Shima is now on our side.
Yes, I believe so.
And if that's the case, because of what Shima said before that night was over, saying, I don't think that young Sue is connected to the witch. And he's like, oh, the one covered in the miasma or whatever?
I don't know about that.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not so sure. That means that had already happened.
Okay.
That she
All
had
right.
already been basically
I like it.
joined their side at that point. But then something happened after that that was another conversation.
Gotcha.
Now, the characters that we haven't really touched on a lot of like details with regards to this that are in the Sanctuary, and I love how the Sanctuary has kind of created this like tool belt of Subaru where it's like which route, which character, you know.
Yeah, he's playing an RTS now.
Yeah, he's playing in a lot of ways the RTS, or he's, you know, save scumming this really, really difficult boss mission of sorts that is the Sanctuary. But Ram is the one who keeps kind of being that like really important, powerful just character in the midst of all this. But she's in this odd situation where she doesn't remember Rem, so she doesn't have the motivation to go back to the mansion.
So naturally, Roswaal's the main one she serves.
Right,
because
Roswaal is someone she's incredibly loyal to, so she stays by his side.
Yeah.
But she's also someone that Subaru, like, they have this, you know, very good connection with. So I wonder where she's going to be utilized in the plan.
That's what I'm curious about, because it seemed like they were going with the approach of she's not going to be utilized. And he went to talk to her, and she's like, nope, sorry. But she did end up giving him some tips and some useful info for Amelia in that situation. But we did see her, and then nothing happened with her, so that makes me think that she's not necessarily going to be participating too much moving forward in this iteration, but I don't know, I could be wrong.
I think what it is that when Subaru leaves the Sanctuary to probably go deal with the mansion situation, Rem will still be here, but that will be important that he has some ability to either, you know, have someone on the inside that's here that at least cares about him, and thus by extension, you know, Amelia as well. I mean, of course she cares about Amelia. Roswaal cares about Amelia, but I think Rem is then being saved more towards the end of the plan.
Possibly. It's one of those things where and I'm really curious what this would have been like for people watching it week to week and then having the break between the two parts, because this was a very it was both detail oriented, but then at the same time we didn't get a lot about what the actual plans were. So I'm really curious to see how things go in future episodes, because I know I don't have the full capabilities of tracking with
all the details,
all the things that are happening. You know?
I think the thing that we do know here was that this was a bit of in some ways, a clever recap, where they're basically like, remember all those details that were in the first part? They're all getting coalesced by Subaru's memories and getting put into the actual plan here, so that they know, okay, this is where Subaru's direction of the plan is generally going.
Gotcha.
And then we can use the failures of part one as reference points for all the ways in which he did things before, but he's going to do them now slightly differently along each access point. So, yeah.
But okay, here we are.
All right.
Second half of season 2.
Second half. And, and the plan, a little plan comes together.
Yeah, let's hope this one works.
I want to say we didn't really touch upon the emotional side of things with Amelia, and I really want to just briefly mention this here.
That was so good.
The stuff with Amelia, having to say goodbye to, in some ways, her father here, Puck, her family friend, friend pet, you know, all the hyphens and stuff.
Right.
That was really sweet. But I also really felt for Amelia when she had that moment where she woke up and
Subaru wasn't there.
And Subaru wasn't there, and it was just like, you liar. And it's just like,
man.
And
I'm curious to see what Subaru says when he talks to her, because I want her to bring that up, and I want because Subaru is not the kind of person who would just be like, oh, okay, Amelia's asleep. She asked me if I'd stay the whole night, but you know what? I'm not going to because I don't feel like it. Like he would do it because there was some kind of pressing reason. And when you're on a timetable for 3 days and someone asks you to stay somewhere for 8 hours, it's like,
I'm sorry. I need to sleep too. And
I'll do the best I can, but I might have things that, you know.
And I don't want to invade your privacy by sleeping next to you just so that I can get some sleep as well.
Right. Well, and if there's anything that he has to do during that time, even less so, you know. So, yeah.
I can also see this being one of the first iterations where Subaru actually gets a full night's rest, though, because he's not superhuman. he does need to sleep, though.
Otto's got some caffeine, and he just, he's like, all right, here's some concentrated coffee.
Oh,
Just keep chugging it for the 3 days,
Ryuzu gave him some kind of special thing in the cup there, and that was what he was like, wait a minute, did Subaru not even sleep this night? He's like, Basaka.
You assumed I would take a long rest, but no.
But no.
Yeah.
I took a point of exhaustion, and then the wizard healed it right back.
Exactly. Yeah. Crunch time, baby.
Yeah. I just talked this whole day. I never used a single spell. Yeah.
But I'm very curious to see what happens when Amelia and Subaru talk in that tunnel crypt area, because now that Puck isn't keeping her shielded,
Stage 2 of the trial.
Stage 2 of the trial, but also we might be able to have a much more vulnerable conversation than anything we've had thus far from Amelia to Subaru. We've had Subaru being vulnerable to Amelia several times, right? But not as much the other way around. So,
yeah, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.